Assad must go. And he also said that one of his first moves is to draft diplomatic proposals to persuade you to give up power. Would you invite him to Damascus for talks? What would you say to him? What is your message to him now, given what he said this week and what he plans to say to his allies when he visits them over the weekend? And if possible, from your knowledge of him, how would you describe Kerry from your knowledge of him in the past?
I'd rather describe policies rather than describing people. So it's still early to judge him. It's only a few weeks since he became minister. First of all, the point that you've mentioned related to internal Syrian matter, Syrian issues. Any Syrian subject wouldn't be raised with any foreigners. We only discuss it with Syrian within Syria. So we're not going to discuss with anyone who's coming from abroad internal matters. We have friends. We discuss our issues with the friends. We listen to their advice, but at the end, it's our decision as Syrian to make what's good for our country. But if anyone wants to genuinely, and under two quotation I stress the word genuinely, help Syria and help the cessation of violence in our country, he can do only one thing. He can go to Turkey and sit with Erdogan and tell him, stop smuggling terrorists into Syria. Stop sending armaments. Stop providing logistical support to those terrorists. He can go to Qatar and Saudi Arabia and tell them, stop financing the terrorists in Syria. This is the only thing that anyone can do, dealing with the external part of our problem. But no one from outside Syria can deal with the internal part of this problem.
So what is your message to Kerry?
Very clear, to understand what I said now. If you want me to, not message to Kerry, to anyone who's talking about the Syrian issue, only Syrian people can tell the president, stay or leave, come or go, no one else. I'm just saying this clearly in order not to waste the time of others, to know where to focus.
What role, if any, do you see for Britain in any peace process for Syria? Have there been any informal contacts with the British? And what is your reaction to Prime Minister Cameron's support for the opposition? What would you say if you were sitting with him now, especially that Britain is calling for arming the rebels?
There's no contact between Syria and Britain for a long time. If you want to talk about the role, you cannot separate the role from the credibility. And we cannot separate the credibility from the history of that country. And to be frank, now I'm talking to a British journalist and to a British audience, to be frank, Britain has played famously in our region, unconstructive role in different issues for decades. Some say for centuries. I'm telling you now the perception in our region. And the problem with this government that they are shallow and immature rhetorics only highlight this tradition of bullying and hegemony. I'm being frank with you. How can we expect to ask Britain to play a role while it's determined to militarize the problem? How can you ask them to play a role in making the situation better, more stable? How can we expect them to make the violence less while they want to send military supply to the terrorists? And don't try to ease the dialogue between the Syrians. This is not logical. I think they are working against that, and they are working against the interest of the UK itself. This government is acting in a naive, confused, and unrealistic manner. If they want to play a role, they have to change this. They have to act in more reasonable and responsible way. Till then, We don't expect from arsonist to be a firefighter.
Thank you, Mr. President.